Welcome to my YouTube channel, RC Pursuit. This is my very first video. I'm brand new to YouTube and I'm also pretty darn new to RC also. But on this channel, we're going to go ahead and be going over all things RC, and that's vehicles, planes, helicopters, batteries, receivers, transmitters, parts, the whole nine. And my intention for this channel going forward really is to kind of bring some insight into the RC world for like new people coming into RC and vets alike. When I first started coming into RC, I didn't really know what I was doing, and I took a lot of information from different forums, different YouTube channels and videos, and I kind of like pieced them all together. So I really kind of want to make a one-stop shop for different things, and also certain information that really wasn't like totally available, even after doing some digging, or maybe I was just looking in the wrong spots. So in this video today, we are going over my brand new RC car, which is the Traxxas TRX-4. And this vehicle I actually just picked up the other day. I really didn't get a chance to use it because it got dark by the time I got home. So this is the next day. I was super excited. I felt like a kid in Christmas. And it's running these Duratrax tires that I actually had on my very first RC vehicle, which is the ECX Tempered Gen 2, which broke, snapped the wheel hub off. And I've got it running on a 3S LiPo 5000 milliamp hour Spectrum battery, and we're just going to go ahead and kind of run it through here in its stock form. Mainly just the tires are the only thing different. So this is the vehicle in high gear only, and you really won't be doing a whole lot of climbing in high gear. But just to kind of get into it, guys, this testing is going to go high gear and low gear with open diffs. And then it's just going to go to high gear with lock differentials, and then low gear with lock differentials. And I'm kind of going to be talking about different things as far as my reasoning for purchasing this vehicle specifically. For new people, if you guys are curious, as I was, about getting into this, where you should kind of start, and then what I will be doing with the channel here in my next uploads, as we kind of walk through this different footage. So feel free to kind of skip through if you like. I'll have some timestamps down below. And this is just a dirt pile I have here in the yard. And it's very actually convenient for testing. Okay, I've got some different lines I get to run on here until the dirt pile is kind of sold. But other than that, guys, so the reason why I actually purchased this vehicle specifically out of the rest of the competition, because there's a lot of competition out there. And if you're new to RC, I mean, I was online just, looking through all of the different options, because these things, I mean, they're not cheap, number one. But number two, it's just kind of overwhelming, right? You got the SCX 10.3, you've got the you got even the TRX, the Sport Edition, the Tactical. You've got, those are different body styles. You've got the 6x6, and then you've also got the Red Cats, Elements. And then you've got the whole totally separate kits where they just don't come ready to run. You got to get the electronics. I mean, there's just a ton of options. I wanted something that was ready to run out of the box, and I knew that I was going to sacrifice a little bit of electronics. I had done a lot of research on this vehicle. I kind of came to the conclusion that this vehicle is kind of like the Toyota of the RC world, very reliable. It's got a bulletproof drivetrain, can take a lot of beating and still dish it out. And it's a very forgiving vehicle. Now, the price tag isn't really forgiving. However, the experience overall is really forgiving. This thing has got a lot going for it. So we've got our front and rear locking differentials, and then we've got the part that really sold me was the two-stage transmission. So it's got a high and a low gear. When you're getting into this and you're kind of looking at other vehicles, the other vehicles that I mentioned previously, only one of them has a two-stage transmission, I believe, and it is this SCX 10. And there really wasn't much difference between its low gear and its high gear. And the TRX-4 has such a difference between the high and low gear. It's like a different vehicle when you switch modes. For the dedicated crawlers out there, the guys that really want to crawl and get in there and do the nitty gritty, you guys probably want something that has only a single transmission, single gear, just because you don't want to be worrying about switches and stuff. Um, but overall, that was the biggest selling point for me because it allowed me to go fast when I wanted to go fast and then go slow when I wanted to go slow. I don't necessarily get bored crawling, but the thing is when I go out on hikes and things like that with my fiance, when we go out and about, or when I go walking across the land or whatnot, I do want a vehicle that I can kind of punch around, have some fun, and then take on the trail, this, that, and the next. And then when we hit a spot for a break or something like that, I definitely wanted to have something where I can go crawl all the little cool little nooks and crannies and have a good time. Um, and that would be the main reasoning here, because the other vehicles, they just did not have that functionality without getting into adding your own high and low gear transmission. And I ended up finding some other videos or some forum posts of some other guys adding some aftermarket two-stage transmissions, but they didn't really turn out so well because they didn't get the performance in high gear that they were looking for. It really wasn't even noticeable. So if you're looking for speed, if you're looking for power, something that can do a little bit of everything, the TRX-4 is going to be your go-to purchase. You really won't regret it, even with the price tag. But if you're looking for something more budget friendly, and you care nothing about the speed, then you may look into something like a Sport or the SCX10, which comes in at around the $300, $360-ish range, and then the Red Cat, which is going to be $300 if you go with the non-Axe edition. And then, of course, the Element, which comes in around, I believe, the same price. I think it's actually closer to $400. But other than that, that's kind of what you're going to look for in your trail crawlers and things like that. Rock crawlers and such, they kind of come off a little bit different. You're going to have a little bit different setups, and I really wasn't looking for a pure, like, straight on rock crawler, as you call them. Those things are a little bit slow for my tastes, more like the Temper that I have. And I'm going to be fixing here pretty soon, because that was a pretty fun little rig on 3S LiPo. It actually came to life quite a bit with that battery setup. Now, a couple of the downsides with the TRX-4, if you go with the Defender body style, namely, is the fact that it is a heavy body. But this setup, I mean, it just brings out the kid in you. This thing makes me so happy to see and just mess with. I mean, it's a scale, it's a scale Defender body, in an RC car. And I love it. I love every bit of it. So I'm willing to make it work however I can. In this video here, you're going to see it roll over a few times, and it is what it is. I was kind of expecting that. And before I brought it out to the dirt pile, I did add some spare wheel weights that I actually had left over from my Temper, and I went ahead and threw them on the front bumper. That would be sprung weight, but I really didn't have any better options at the time. So actually, as of this video, I do have a few things coming in, some brass coming in, and then I do also have a different motor coming in. I'm just going to talk about that real quick. So, you purchase this vehicle ready to run out of the box. It is a little bit top heavy. And for what I want it, I'm going to spend a little bit more to get it to where I want. But out of the box, this thing is super capable. I mean, it will run where you need it to go. On the steeper climbs, it will struggle. You may change the body out, and that'll probably end up actually solving a lot of your problem. But if you're like me, you like the look, then we gotta fork out a little bit to kind of get it to where we want it. So the brass knuckles I have coming in, the drive shaft, the portal covers, and that's actually all I'm going to do with the brass. I've got some skid plates, which shouldn't add too much weight to it, I don't think. But I don't want to overkill it with the brass, because, you can kind of overkill it to where everything is kind of thrown off. I'm not necessarily worried about the motor working too hard, although I will be doing some videos on that with the new motor I have coming in for the vehicle. And that's really all I have in terms of brass and weight. The battery itself that's in here, the 5,000 milliamp hour Spectrum battery, that was actually, I had that because of my Big Rock Arma. and Arma Big Rock, and that battery is huge and it's pretty heavy. And other than that, guys, I do want to touch on the motor, the Titan motor. It is interesting. Okay, what I mean by that, if you guys remember, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but they used to sell RC cars at Toys R Us, right? Not the highest quality vehicles, and definitely not hobby grade, but they were fun as a kid. You know, you could mess around, have a good time. But like when you're in low gear and you're wanting some power, the motor pushes out, and then you throttle a little bit more. Sometimes it gives you a little bit more than you want. Um, like it's not as controlled. But this motor definitely puts out it'll put this vehicle on two wheels for sure. You'll be popping some wheelies. Um, but I ended up actually going for the Hobby Wing Fusion after doing a lot of researching. I still didn't find a couple of pieces of information that I was looking for, like temperatures after run times, etc., because it is a motor ESC combo, and it is a smaller motor. And so I was kind of wondering how the thing runs, like how fast is it or how slow is it versus the Titan and things like that. So when I get it in, I'm actually going to go ahead and go over that. I'm going to do some temperature testing. I'm going to do like an installation video of that process. There are a few videos out there already for it. But it just when it I saw it, and I saw it in action, and especially in the low speeds, that really just blew my mind, coming out of that system. And then the biggest reason for switching to a brushless setup for me, and this may be something that applies to you as well, is the overall maintenance. Okay, so um, brushed motors, they require a little bit of maintenance. Granted, you know, it's not all the time, but when I'm running it through water and mud and snow, whenever the winter comes back around, I don't want to go through the whole maintenance aspect of it. And I already did that with the ECX temper, and I didn't really mind it. It was kind of relaxing at times, but sometimes it was just like, you know, you kind of want to slap it on the ground, you want to run it, and then when you're done running it, you want to slap it with a water hose, and then you want to kind of just move on, right? And so I guess you call me lazy for that. I know the brushed motors aren't the same classes, and I know that you can go up to other brushed motors, you know, which are in a league of their own as well. But really, I just didn't want to worry about the maintenance. Noise. I mean, I'm not so crazy about the noise, but that is another thing too. I mean, the Hobby Wing Fusion is supposedly pretty much uh, silent at low speeds and whatnot. So other than that, that was about it for the Titan motor. It's held up really well. It's got a huge punch to it for the time that I've used it. I'm going to be using it a little bit more before I swap it all out. Um, and then on top of that, you know, one of the things is, you guys, when you're getting into these vehicles, for you new people out there, and one of the things that I didn't know is that some of these companies, they have, you know, proprietary connections. Like this is Traxxas, and Traxxas has its own proprietary connection that they use. So when you're running into RC and you're buying vehicles, that's something to keep in mind, because the batteries are also not cheap, and they're also a pretty big expense when you start going to chargers and whatnot, which you'll have to do if you want to start running the LiPo batteries, which are going to give your vehicles a different life, right? So the easiest way of doing that is buying a battery that you like, that's not going to hurt your wallet too much. And you know, if you're bashing, you may want like a hard case battery, like I have. And all I did to convert it over to this rig, guys, is I bought some Velcro from Walmart. It was like $5. I cut it into different pieces, and I used the existing battery tray. I just slid it in through the little slots, and then I slapped the battery on it. And then a guy at my local hobby shop, he actually gave me the connector when I purchased this rig, and I had that adapter, and I just left it on the ESC power lead. And then when the Hobby Wing comes in, obviously, you know, I've got a set of adapters coming in with the Hobby Wing because it uses XT60. So those are just some of the things you want to keep in mind. But really, when you buy the battery, the cheapest way of moving it onto your new platform is going to be an adapter. So don't be too daunted by your battery choices. When you go up in bigger in size for a battery, just be realistic. The bigger size batteries, you're going to want to throw them in 1/10 scale, 1/8. You know, the bigger vehicles that can handle them. You're definitely not going to be throwing the battery on an 18th scale RC crawler. It is going to, I don't know where you would put it. I'll just say that much. So just be realistic with that, and then don't be too scared of batteries. The controller on this is great. I love the remote front and rear locking differentials. Some guys like want them locked all the time. I don't, because I want to do some, I want to do some runs in some circles, do some donuts, get those tires spinning, just have a good time every now and then. And when I want to lock the diffs, put it into work. I'll put it to work. Overall, it's been very capable. I didn't expect much on this initial stocked run. It did surprise me quite a bit because this dirt was wet. As you can see, the mud is just caked all over the tires the entire time. I didn't bother cleaning any of the tires. I just felt like I wanted all to have just a fair shot all the way around, except for in the very beginning. But really, guys, I didn't give high gear too much faith. I figured that's where we're going to get the mud on it, and we're just going to call it a day, move on with the rest of the testing. And low gear, full differentials locked. This thing is very, very, very capable crawler just out of the box. So if that's something that you're wanting to, this is it right here. But that was my reasoning as to why I chose this vehicle, but over the competition, even though the price tag was a little bit more. I'm going to go over a lot more with this vehicle in the coming months. I'm also going to be covering my Arma Big Rock, which I'm going to be having some upgrades done for it. That thing is freaking wicked. I'm loving that thing so much. And then when the parts come in for the ECX temper, I'm going to revive it. And I'm going to show you what that little thing can do, because for $150, guys, I mean, that vehicle is so capable. Even just out of the box, you throw a lipo on it with a new ESC and you just like have a totally different monster. That thing is so much more fun. And I guess to me, as I'm kind of going through all this, speed is fun to me. And that's what makes these vehicles just kind of come to life in my eyes. But other than that, I do want to thank you for sticking around, watching the video. If you did like what you see, please go ahead and give me a like and subscribe, especially for the YouTube algorithm, me just starting out. All of this was shot on my cell phone, and so I'm still trying to work out the camera situation and everything else. But guys, I really do appreciate you, and then more content to come.